here with Scott Kyle today. Scott, what's the organization that you're with?
Southwest Louisiana Stop the Bleed.
Okay, and we're both in South Louisiana, by the way. I've been approached by several people over the last several months about doing some things that are a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. I should say well outside of my wheelhouse. A lot of people have asked me to get more involved in the first aid trauma type thing. I wanted to outfit some vehicle trauma type kits for me, customized for me specifically. In other words, for what I do on a normal basis. And what Scott has done is he's helped me line out via lists that we have here, things that I probably need based on what my needs are. The whole purpose of this is I want to know that I have enough stuff that I need to treat whatever I need, but I don't want to overwhelm myself. Because obviously you've done this for a living. I haven't. If there's a high stress situation and I feel like that I need to tend to something, whether it's something on me, God forbid it's me, because then my stress level is going to be even higher. But if I'm having to tend to somebody else, I feel like that tunnel vision is not going to allow me to really dissect everything that I have. If I walk in there with this massive first aid kit and start looking for that one little thing that I need, and there's 5,000 things in there. So by doing this and breaking it down into this for basically what I do on the range and normal day-to-day duties and making it go in here, I feel like I'm narrowing down. I'm going from 500 things to maybe 15.
Right.
And that's what we're going to get into today. Scott's going to help us go through and tell me why somebody like me needs this. Now, Scott, based on our conversation before, my main form of use of all of these items right here is number one priority is if I shoot myself on the range. I mean, God forbid that happens, but people have shot themselves. And if I'm doing any kind of weapons loading or anything, more likely to probably shoot myself in the thigh. So that's probably my biggest thing. But I mean, we've also got car wrecks or anything like that I could run across. Scott, take us through maybe an order of importance, how you see me utilizing these things in my trauma kit.
So being simplistic is the best part about this. So gauze, that's the surgical sponges. And even though these are sterile surgical sponges, you could use a sock. In the medical community, they're not concerned necessarily about infection whenever you're shot. So
when somebody's bleeding out.
Right. So holding direct pressure with something like that would be one of the first things you could do. And obviously, you have your gloves to be able to protect yourself and the person that you may be touching. You have many uses for gloves. You could even use that for to seal a wound if you had to be really simple.
And they're cheap, so why not buy a box of them?
Yep. And going down the line, the next is obviously the combat application tourniquet. That's a must for everybody. They're so simple to use, easy to train someone to use it, and it can absolutely save a life. Like Paul was saying, if someone were shot in the leg, for instance, you have about 90 seconds before you could potentially bleed out from a femoral artery.
Really?
Being hit. That's one of the larger arteries in your body. Applying that would absolutely save a life.
And we'll have videos that will get more detail, but I've even read where, if you haven't stopped or even slowed the bleeding down to the level that you're comfortable with, you can apply another tourniquet.
Absolutely.
And again, we'll get more into that later, but there's a lot more details on the tourniquet side of it, putting time on there. I know that's important also. I do have a Sharpie pen in my bag also. So there's a lot of things, a lot more detail in each one of these things that we're talking about that we will go over in a later video. Again, guys, this is just at a high level.
Next, you can move on to your trauma shears. To be able to see what you're treating, you may have to cut some clothing off on yourself or that person. You have a vented chest seal. These are great products. They allow you to seal an open chest from penetrating trauma, and it allows the lungs to fill back up with air. Absolutely could save a life. Moving along, you have some other items like triangle bandage, especially for our hunters. Falling out of a deer stand, breaking an arm, it makes it very beneficial. It's easily can apply a bandage to the arm, and it uses as a sling. Some other simple items like cloth tape, just an ace wrap elastic bandage. You can use that to hold additional pressure, some additional gauze, and also the quick clotting gauze. That's becoming that's a new thing with treating penetrating injuries also. If a tourniquet is not available and you have these type of gauze, that's absolutely what you would want to go to.
I would imagine that from a gauze standpoint, like these little gauze rolls right here, you probably can't have too much of this because I'm sure this is a pretty multi. I mean, if you want to plug a wound or something like that, I mean, I see there being so many uses for something like this.
There is, really. You could use that, and like I said, you could use a sock if you don't have these things available.
Right.
When time is of the essence, anything will do.
Out of all these things that we talked about right here, most of them, their uses are pretty basic. Again, we'll do more videos on the application of a tourniquet. Again, I don't think any of these things should be used without some level of knowledge, even at the entry point level. Right. So clearly we'll get more detail in here, but most of these things are somewhat basic as far as their use, but you had mentioned about the clotting, about, I guess, again, an entry level amount of training. Tell me why and the reason behind that.
There's multiple types of quick clotting agents available. The military's been using them for years, but these are gauze similar to these in a roll form that are impregnated with a medication actually that causes the blood to clot quickly. So you need to be somewhat familiar with where you can pack a wound. You don't want to go packing an abdominal injury with this. You can actually cause some damage there if you start packing a wound in the abdomen and you get this material into the abdomen.
So if I shot myself in the stomach accidentally, I probably want to pack it with the non-clotting gauze?
With the non-clotting or direct pressure even. You know, we always say the first thing you want to go to, if you can't identify it as life-threatening bleeding, direct pressure. It'll work every time.
Okay. So in fact, a lot of these things right here seem like, other than maybe the triangle bandages, they all probably come into play with some form of pressure. It seems
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, it sounds like pressure is the name of the game as far as it's at least slowing bleeding for that matter. Well, guys, that's it for today. You're going to be seeing a lot more of my videos on this. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, probably over the last year especially, and I've had people sending me EMT, EMS type supplies, and I'm like, what do I do with these? So luckily enough, Scott and I ran into each other, and we're going to put together a pretty good series of things like that. And the next group of videos that you'll see is us pretty much taking some of these things and really elaborating on the proper use. In fact, as Scott had mentioned to me, even he has a dummy leg that we can experiment with putting your tourniquets on. So there's some cool stuff that we're going to do in the future going forward and try to take this as seriously as we can. One thing I do want to stress is that a person like me whose skill set is way down here, we don't need to be involving ourselves in something that involves a much higher skill set. I don't think anything that we do right here is to replace calling 911 or calling for help. I think all this is to do is to get me that point until that person shows up that's way more qualified than me.